The whole world, Schopenhauer says, with all its phenomena of change, growth, and development, is ultimately the manifestation of will, a blind force conscious of itself only when it reaches a stage of intellect, and life is a constant self-assertion of this will, a long desire which is never fulfilled. This illusion inevitably follows upon attainment, because the will, the thing in itself, always remains as the permanent element, and with this persistent exercise of its claim it can never be satisfied. So life is essentially suffering, and the only remedy for it is the freedom of the intellect from the servitude imposed by its master, the will. The happiness a man can attain is thus, in Schopenhauer's view, negative only. But how is it to be acquired? Some temporary relief, he says, may be obtained through the medium of art. For in the apprehension of art we are raised out of our bondage, contemplating objects of thought as they are in themselves, apart from their relations to our ephemeral existence, and free from any taint of the will. This contemplation of pure thought is destroyed when art is degraded from its lofty sphere and made an instrument in the bondage of the will. Don't wank, because if you're distracting yourself, you're not going to be able to apprehend art. And under that umbrella term, the apprehension of art, what I interpret is the creation of art, the the exercising of your creative potential, manifesting your creativity, to put it more simply. So if you're busting a nut and throwing away, ejaculating literally all your energy, if you're spending 6 hours a day on YouTube, if you're getting pissed at the weekends and pissing away the next day, then you're tapping your ability. You're not tapping your ability, you're annulling your ability, you're ruining your ability, destroying your ability to apprehend this art. Because if we're saying that art is an appreciation, a temporary appreciation for the thing in itself, which maybe, let's call it maybe the apprehension of this will through the intellect, if that's what he's saying, then that's the only way we can negate suffering. We can, cease suffering. And I think there are two types here, because Schopenhauer's ultimate aim for human happiness, the ultimate negation of the will, to negate the will fully, is to resign, to withdraw, to retire from life, to put aside this willing, and to will is to desire, to strive towards something, that is to will, I believe. And if we want to completely cease this suffering, we need to completely negate the will, and that is only through retiring, like the Buddhist monks, for example, or the Christian ascetic. But if we are to produce and will, then we can do it two methods really that come to mind pretty quickly. One is a productive process, an expression of the self through exploring the world, not living inside ourselves so much and following our curiosity, producing art in whatever form, and finding the most personal and the most effective, or the mode of art, the mode of artistic expression which chimes the best with us, chimes the most well with us. That's one form. The second form is just consumption, distraction, shite, jerking off, watching movies all day, going to clubs and getting pissed, having meaningless sex. That's the second. Doing drugs. That's drinking alcohol. That's the second mode, method, way, path, route of attempting to cease suffering. And he says, uh, somewhere that we can see, I'm not even going to fucking try to talk about it. I'm going to just read it. Oh, this is another lovely quote. Still, in the face of all of this suffering, and in spite of the fact that the uncertainty of life destroys its value as an end in itself, every man's natural desire is to preserve his existence, so that life is a blind, unreasoning force, hurrying us we know not whither. Nice. From his high metaphysical standpoint, Schopenhauer is ready to admit that there are many things in life which give a short satisfaction and blind us for the moment to the realities of existence, pleasures, as they may be called, insofar as they are a mode of relief. But that pleasure is not positive in its nature, nor anything more than the negation of suffering. But that pleasure is not positive in its nature, nor anything more than a negation of suffering, is proved by the fact that, if pleasures come in abundance, pain soon returns in the form of satiety, being sated, being satisfied, satiety, satiation, satiety. That's such a weird fucking word. In the form of satiation, being sated, being satiated, being satisfied. But it's not. Pain soon returns in the form of satiety, being satiated. Yes. So pain returns because you've had enough of these fleeting pleasures. It's like, whoa, I've just fucking done 5 lines of cocaine and fingered 18 Austrian models and, I don't know, been shit on by a Norwegian blonde and my arsehole fingered by the Queen's daughter, princess. Now I'm in pain because I'm satisfied, I'm sated. It's not I'm satisfied, it's I am sated, I'm full, I've had enough. I've had enough of all these pleasures, and thus pain returns, and thence pain returns. That's the point. So that the sense of illusion is all that has been gained, the illusion of being happy. Hence, the most a man can achieve in the way of welfare is a measure of relief from this suffering, and if people were prudent, it is at this they would aim, instead of trying to secure a happiness which always flies from them. Super fucking depressing and, innit? Yeah, that's basically it. If if you don't want to retire from life, if you don't want to be a monk or an ascetic and just eat a grain of rice a day, as my guy, the Buddha, did, apparently. I think it was the Buddha. If you don't want to do that shit, then rather than chasing happiness, which comes when it's uncalled for, you aim at the cessation of suffering, which by nature allows room for happiness to come in, and you do that not through distraction, but through ridding of distraction and giving your mind, your intellect, the ability to exercise, manifest its creative potential. And through that, you apprehend art, which is an intellectual process, or kind of you can call it an intellectual process, but it just pertains to the mind. It's like an existential, ontological, it's a nice process, just a process of the mind, whatever the word for that is, and the soul, or the self, and through that you have temporary relief from suffering, and then suffering comes back. That's a good way to get rid of it, because striving toward just fleeting pleasures brings only disillusionment. But I do think, I don't know, maybe Schopenhauer's wrong, but I do believe constantly constantly allowing yourself to be curious about the world and explore and not just try to fill yourself full of pleasure, but I don't know, follow curiosity. I think it's a different quality of, will. If let's say, it's not just I direct my will toward consumption and trying to acquire more, but it's just, oh, I'm curious about this, I want to do this. My mind is free of distractions, so I allow my creative potential to manifest. And through that, you apprehend the thing in itself, and whatever that thing is, whether it be a butterfly or a fucking painting you're painting, picture you're painting. It's a real satisfaction that doesn't leave you, disillusioned, but it leaves you feeling satisfied. Don't wank, boys and girls.